is going to be a really short review because this film was not really noir and also kind of terrible, and I don't really want to talk much about it because it wasn't great. It has an interesting production history though. So this is The Mackintosh Man. It's from 1973. It's directed by John Huston. It was originally written by Walter Hill as a make good because Warner Brothers owed him for screwing him over earlier on a contract. So they were like, here's some books, figure out what you want to adapt, and we'll pay you, and just have fun. So he churned out in like 2 weeks the script for The Mackintosh Man. He thought it was just shit, but he wanted the money, you know. And then John Huston ended up wanting to direct it, and then Paul Newman was like, "Oh yeah, I'll star in it. I'm not British, but whatever, it's fine. We can pretend I'm British." And then the script had like 6 other rewriters who worked on it before it got finalized. The plot is based on a book by Desmond Bagley called The Freedom Trap. The plot makes very little sense, especially given Paul Newman as the lead, because he is supposed to be a British intelligence agent, but he never once attempts a successful British accent, and even at one point pretends to be Australian, and that accent is also terrible. It sounds like a bad Irish accent, and you're like, what? Um, but essentially, the plot is that he is trying to go undercover to catch some people, and you don't actually find out why he's doing what he's doing until the plot unfolds, and it seems like he's maybe not going to make it out in one piece. You get Dominique Sanda, who was a French actress at the time, in a role that could have been really interesting, but winds up being completely underdeveloped until the final sequence, and then you're like, wait, what? And if she's capable of what she's capable of in the final sequence, she should have been a much more interesting character earlier in the story. So that's frustrating. James Mason is playing just a very one note caricature of an evil, corrupt politician. There's sequences in a prison that could have been really interesting, but none of the characters get developed past like plain, basic prison tropes. The one thing it really has going for it is the score by Maurice Jarre is gorgeous and lovely, and you can just turn everything else off and listen to the score, and it's great. And Oswald Morris did some great cinematography. The locations are wonderful. It's especially the sequences towards the end at Malta. Excellently made film because it's John Huston. He's a great filmmaker. I don't know what happened. Probably because it started with a bad script. Walter Hill admits it was a bad script. He's like, it was shit. He had no idea that why they wanted to make this into a movie. I could see how the story might have been interesting if they had sussed it out a little better, and it definitely suffers from being miscast. I love Paul Newman, but you are not a British intelligence agent, and you didn't even try to have a British accent, and so it just really, really takes you out of it because you're like, what are you even doing in this movie? So it's just not good, and it's not even really noir. It's kind of a Cold War thriller, but even that isn't great. There's no tension. Newman doesn't even get to be charming, so like there's just not a lot going for this movie. So this is The Mackintosh Man. You can watch it if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not great. Probably the least good movie I've watched in a while, and definitely the least good Noirvember pick I've made in quite a while. Well, I mean, I can't even say that because there were the French ones where they were well made, but I hated the characters. But they weren't they weren't poorly made. I just hated the characters. This one, it was just poorly made, so it's a different kind of disappointing, I guess. But like I guess everyone's allowed one crap film. This is John Huston's crap film. This is Paul Newman's crap film. Maurice Jarre is still good, so it's fine. This is The Mackintosh Man. It's from 1973. Seek it out if you're curious, but there's too many other films out there that are probably worth your time much more than this one. Noirvember's almost over. I'm very sad.